Today's episode of the More You Know podcast features Ejay Cruz, who's the host of the Parables podcast, as well as John Malott, who's the co-chairman of Build Your Empire, an author and speaker, who's amassed over $1 billion in global sales, as well as being featured in Forbes, Entrepreneur, USA Today, and more. And lastly, Akshay Nanavati, who's a U.S. Marine veteran, ultra runner, founder of Fearvana, and also the author of Fearvana, a book endorsed by the Dalai Lama and Jack Canfield. I asked each of them if they were to go back and tell their 20-year-old selves something, what would that be? Enjoy the episode.
I'm just trying to make it all make sense.
The
More
You
Know
podcast.
There's no question that, well, actually, there's a lot of things I'd love to tell my 20-year-old self, truthfully, but if I only had to choose one thing, it'd probably be this, is to get comfortable being uncomfortable and enjoy the process. There's no question that self-belief and confidence are your biggest asset. And to understand that all the trials and tribulations, all the speed bumps, all the adversity that you go through is only molding you and serving you to become that future person that you're trying to be.
If you could go back and tell your 20-year-old self something, what would it be? I would tell him to shut up and listen, the thing we started with. It's amazing how arrogant you can be in your 20s and not have anything and not have done anything, but yet think you are the deal and that the world revolves around you. I was no different, and had I humbled myself much earlier, today I have a tattoo that says ego is the enemy, as a reminder that I'm not as big of a big shot as I think I am, that the money does not make me bigger, better than anybody else, and remaining humble. And again, being humble, that really comes back to shutting up. Listen, there's a lot of people I can learn from. I'm still continuing to learn. It's the only way to be mentored is to be humble and to listen. So I would tell my 20-year-old self to shut up and listen. And well, I heard it all the time, don't do drugs. I didn't listen to that, and that set me in a tailspin.
If I could go back and tell my 20-year-old self something, it was at 20 years old, I had just joined the Marines. I was in a really good way. I had just overcome drug addiction, and so I was in a pretty good place having joined the Marines. I guess what I would have just told my 20-year-old self is to spend more time reflecting. It's great to be in purposeful action and to pursue things with structure, discipline, with action. Action is a beautiful thing. Without action, you cannot succeed. But it's really important, and now I recognize this more and more, to practice stillness, to reflect on the action, to soak in the lessons from that. So at 20 years old, I was pretty on point. I had overcome drug addiction, was in the Marines, graduated infantry school as the honor graduate of my platoon, was just doing very, very well in mind, body, spirit. But I wasn't taking time for stillness and reflection. And now, today where I'm at in my life, I realize how important that is to ingrain lessons, to soak in lessons in life, and to ultimately use those lessons to take the next purposeful action. And actually, stillness is not slowing you down in life. Stillness is actually helping you speed up. There's a difference between being still and being stagnant. Stillness is incredibly valuable. So I would tell my 20-year-old self to practice stillness, to take time for reflection, to take time for awareness, and then translate that conscious awareness into the next purposeful action.
I'm just trying to make it all make sense.
The
More
You
Know
podcast.